the 9th, 2016. First order of business is to call the meeting to order. Mrs. Larson,
Honorable Mayor Bilbrey. Honorable Vice Mayor Dyer.
present.
Honorable Councilwoman Norris. Honorable Councilwoman Green.
Present.
Honorable Councilman Hurd.
Present.
Our invocation tonight, I'll ask Mr. Lewis Brown if he would lead us in prayer, please.
Our Father in heaven, we come before you this evening to thank you for all the many blessings that you give us in this community, in this country, and we thank you for the opportunities that we have to serve each other and to do our jobs and the things you allow us to do. We ask that you will be here this evening and this meeting, that it would go according to your will, and we ask that you would be with those that are not able to be here for whatever reason. And again, we thank you for all the blessings you've given us, and we ask all these things now in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Morrison, would you lead our pledge, please?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4 on our agenda is to consider this agenda as presented. I believe everyone's had a chance to look over what we're discussing tonight. I have a motion on the floor to approve
And a second.
and a second. Ms. Larson, please.
Mayor Bilbrey. Vice Mayor Dyer.
Yes.
Honorable Norris. Honorable Green.
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Section 2 of this is to consider approval of the minutes of the council meeting held July 12th, 2016.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Ms. Larson?
Mayor Bilbrey. Vice Mayor Dyer.
Yes.
Honorable Norris. Honorable Green.
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
There is no items under the old business portion of our meeting tonight. We'll move on to new business. The first item is to consider approval to suspend the reading of ordinance 610-16. Mr. Morrison?
Just be suspending the reading of the ordinance, and we'll give some notes on what was changed in the employee handbook.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Ms. Larson?
Mayor Bilbrey. Vice Mayor Dyer.
Yes.
Honorable Norris. Honorable Green.
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Number 4, the floor will now be open for the second and final reading of the ordinance 610-16. This is to consider the approval of adopting personnel rules and regulations of the employee handbook. If you would like to speak, please approach the podium and you will be heard.
Ronnie Williams, who wrote the handbook?
The original handbook was adopted from MTAS, from a previous group. We sent it back to MTAS. There were some wording errors, some definitions that need to be fixed, and all of those things have been sent back and forth to MTAS to be corrected.
So MTS wrote it?
Yes.
Okay. And it's basically, this is the same rules for everybody all over the state?
Well, there's some that are different. Each city has different personnel regulations, but MTAS has several models that they use to put them together.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I can give you a few things. Corrected temporary employees definition, fixed non-discrimination statement, added chain of command, immediate family is clearly defined, pay for part-time has been reworded, overtime wording for public safety has been corrected, deductions clearly stated for the checks, application wording corrected. Election holiday was added as a holiday. Maternity leave was removed because we do not have 100-plus employees. Family medical leave was removed because we are ineligible less than 50 employees, and those were both on recommendation of MTAS. However, if we did need to, we did leave it in the ordinance that if a state statute overrules the handbook, the state statute would rule. Military leave had to be changed to a 20-day annual to meet federal guidelines. An inclement weather policy was added. Professional development, educational reimbursement were clearly defined, with the addition that educational reimbursement is only for 2 years or 6 semesters max, and a pre-termination hearing was defined prior to a termination.
Would anyone else like to speak? I will therefore then close the floor to public hearing and entertain a motion for the adopting of personnel rules and regulations employee handbook on this second and final reading.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Larson?
Mayor Bilbrey, Vice Mayor Dyer,
Yes.
Honorable Norris, Honorable Green,
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Item number 5 is to consider the approval of the amendment to contract with TDOT regarding the Burton Branch widening project. Keith?
We've met with TDOT 2 or 3 times now after going back and forth and trying to figure out what to do with this project. They found out they didn't really know what all was involved with the project. Sewer had to be re-looked at by the engineers. They finally came up with a new plan that will only require a 2-foot undercut and will stay away from the sewer line and not require it to be moved. However, there will be some locations where laterals and lines going to lots will have to be moved, and it will not require as much work on the utility to get it done. This will allow them to continue on and build the road with the 2 lanes and the turn lane all the way down. The other thing that was determined was we had paid already for the utilities to be moved under the road contractor when we've made our final payment for deposit. They were unclear as to whether or not they could give that back, and they didn't feel it was in our best interest for us to do a utility relocation separate from the road contract. They felt it was better if the road contractor was in charge of the utility moves as well. That way, if something got out of time or if something got damaged, the road contractor was completely in control and responsible for that damage or timing error. And with that, they have moved the utility relocation back in the road contract and will do it underneath the road contractor. And we have made all down payments, and so it will require no further funding at this point. This will also get us into the October letting with a scheduled completion to be done by November 2017.
Well, I've personally been on the record possibly a couple of months ago, might have even been last month. This has kind of been a push for me to want to see get done. And I know it's been here a while. Former Mayor Judd signed that contract in '09. You know, it's been on the stove for a long time, and it's time to get moving with it. I hope we don't have any further delays. I think that the city of Allgood has met the criteria that we've been asked to meet from a financial and a council standpoint. So personally speaking, I'd love to see this thing get going and get it led in October and see it built. Anybody else have anything to say on it?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Ms. Larson?
Mayor Bilbrey, Vice Mayor Dyer,
Yes.
Honorable Norris, Honorable Green,
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Item number 6, consider approval to authorize the city administrator to execute the Tennessee Department of Transportation Contract Amendment Number 4 to the Rail Trail Project and accompanying interlocal agreement regarding the use of surface transportation funds from the city of Cookeville. Mr. Morrison.
What this is going to allow is it's going to amend the Tennessee Central Heritage Rail Trail contract to allow for the addition of 2016 STP funds allocated in the amount of $398,219. These are funds that were awarded to Cookeville that require an active project. This will secure the allocation for future use on the trail. Now, what they are also asking, though, is in the event the trail does not continue or gets delayed and the surface transportation funds become required to be used, that they would also be allowed to come back and ask me to sign for those funds to be moved back to Cookeville to transfer to another project. So what they want to make sure they do, these are extra funds they had that had to be put on a project. This would move it forward, hopefully either to Paragon or Green Mountain. But in the event that didn't happen, they also do not want to lose these funds because they want to be able to transfer them to another project. So this is authorizing me and the mayor to sign for those funds to be moved to the rail trail project. But in the event that something happens, the rail trail project doesn't continue, or if the funds have to be moved because they're not being used fast enough, then I would be authorized to approve the return of those funds to Cookeville for another one of their projects. These are, I believe they're 80-20, so they would be applied at an 80%, 20% match if the project continued, and it would add to the additional rail trail funds that are already there to build and construct the project.
Any comment from council?
Sounds good to me.
Dr.
I'll
Hurd?
make a motion for approval.
I have a motion for approval
Second.
and a second. Ms. Larson?
Mayor Bilbrey, Vice Mayor Dyer,
Yes.
Honorable Norris, Honorable Green,
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
Consider approval of a quote that each of us were given last month, and we've had plenty of time to look over it. It's a quote from Arbor Medics for work on the red oak tree located at the community center in the amount of $1,560 to be split with the Putnam County Parks and Recreation group. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Scott Winningham to come to the podium and, oh yeah. Just maybe some that are not familiar with what you're talking about doing to the tree, if you could just kind of walk us through it.
Well, the first thing I'm gonna do is go through and actually trim out and prune out all the storm damage that's already been done to
Okay.
the tree, okay? Give the chance, or give the tree an opportunity to heal up from these wounds. Second thing I'm gonna do is remove all dead wood from the tree. As long as that dead wood is staying connected to the tree, all it's doing is transmitting disease back inside the tree, which is weakening it, okay? Making it stay sick, more or less. Third thing I intend on doing is doing some thinning and weight reduction throughout the canopy to keep it from trying to break out again. The reason for the storm damage in the first place, those branches that broke off were extremely overweighted. They couldn't support their own weight. So when that wind came through, they had no choice but to just break and snap off. So there's a very large limb section that's actually growing out over the top of the community center building. And that's one of the main branches I intend on proposing doing some of the weight reduction to. At that point, I will evaluate the weight of the tree overall, and I may actually install some cabling system to support that weight. So, third thing, or one more thing I intend on doing too, is underneath the root zone of the tree, which is basically the drip line, the outer perimeter, I'm going to come through there and do soil decompaction and vertical mulching to the tree, which will actually improve the health of the root system of the tree, allowing more water and air to penetrate the ground. Now you got to think, as much as that area gets used and as much foot traffic and vehicle traffic and equipment traffic is in that area, that ground is extremely hard right now. So
Kind of like the big time farmer, it needs to subsoil from time to
yes, and
time.
it's basically that same effect. So right now, water and air is having a hard time penetrating the ground to get down to the root system. So the tree is actually, I'm not gonna use a fancy word, but there is one called chlorotic. You can tell that it's actually malnourished. You can tell by the color of the leaves that they are not getting the nutrient to them that they need. So that's something else I intend on supplying to the tree, so.
Well, as
I'm
far as the
actually gonna give it
compaction of the ground, there's been many a young man and young lady that's caught a baseball under
Oh,
that
yeah.
tree.
So, you know, but more or less, I'm just gonna give it an overall health checkup and a workover. I mean, it's, without going into a lot of fancy
Okay.
terminology and stuff, but, I mean, if you need detailed explanation of what I'm going to do, I can write up a big detailed explanation, so.
No, and not trying to put you on the
No,
spot,
no,
I
no,
just wanted you
seriously, I'm here
to maybe,
That's why I'm here to answer questions. I
maybe
figured y'all would
explain,
have some.
does anyone else have any questions, Mr. Winningham?
With this bid of $1,500, does it need to go out for bid?
1,500 is under the bid limit, and we're also going to be splitting it with the county, so we'll only be paying for half of that.
And just a crazy question, not saying it's gonna happen, but what if the tree was to die? What would be the process there?
Cut it down.
Well, at that point,
I'm just saying, you know,
well, the tree could up and die tomorrow
I know
before
that.
work even begins on it. So at that point, there would be no point for me to even do anything
should we
to
put
it,
a
so.
process in order there if it was to die? Or we
Mr.
just gonna cut
Winningham
it
does
down?
work for Tennessee Tech. He also does other work for the state. So he does a lot of work with trees, and I think this is probably the best approach rather than just letting it die on its own slowly.
I think you'll do a good job.
Well, everything I'm doing is basically aimed at improving its health more than anything, so.
Yeah.
I mean, the tree is not in severe bad health right now. It's not just gonna up and die due to bad health, but if it continues the path that it's on, it will start declining more and more. You'll see a drastic loss of canopy in it. You'll tell it's starting to die, so. it's-
I have full trust in you.
What is predicted, his predicted lifespan from here?
Well, it's already past that. It's a red oak.
Mhm.
It's a 200-plus-year-old tree, and most red oaks don't live that long. So, I mean, but because of where it is, it's not a 100 to 120-foot tall tree, so it's not actually been exposed to a lot of extreme heavy winds. It's sitting in an area where it's of no competition with any other trees. I mean, there's nothing else really around it, so it's had an opportunity to develop a low center of gravity, so to speak. It's not sitting way up in the air where it's going to be exposed to the high winds,
Mhm.
tornado damage, things like that. So
Mhm.
it could possibly live to be 300 and 400 years old. There's a white oak tree sitting over in McMinnville right now. It's known as the birthing tree. It's a historical tree for the state of Tennessee. It's over 400 years old. So I've worked on that tree. I've actually installed cabling in it. I've done the soil decompaction to it and vertical mulching to it. So about 5 years ago, I was contracted with the city of McMinnville to work on that tree. So I've worked on it several times. So I'm pretty much gonna do to it, the tree here, what I've done to that tree over there. And a lot of the trees on Tennessee Tech campus and some of the trees at some of the state-owned properties in Nashville. So just more or less trying to improve its health more
Right.
than anything, so.
Any other comment?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Ms. Larson?
Mayor Bilbrey, Vice Mayor Dyer,
Yes.
Honorable Norris, Honorable Green,
Yes.
Honorable Hurd.
Yes.
That brings us to the city administrator's report. Mr. Morrison, please.
Budget numbers for the month of July, the comparative is 8.33%. General fund revenues are 5.66% at $206,385.36. General fund expense is 4.51%. It's $172,299.86. Water sewer revenue is 8.58%. It's $134,555.53. Currently, water sewer expense is 9.84%. It's $155,385.52. Total account balances are $8,049,622.02. Burton Branch project, you just voted to move forward with that, putting the utility back under the road contract. It will go to bid in October. Should something else delay it, its latest bid letting will be December, and estimated completion November 2017. The rail trail is nearing completion. There is a scheduled walkthrough coming up in the next couple of weeks with Nashville Eastern Railroad to make sure they approve of everything. There is a Tennessee prescription drug discount card. You can get it online. For some of our folks that aren't able to get online and print it, it is available downstairs during the hours of 8 to 4 when the office is open. Anybody can walk in and get this card. It is a free discount card to give you savings on prescription drugs through Tennessee Drug Program. To address Mr. Judd's comment, we have tried to get a downtown grant. We've been in contact with UCDD and just haven't made much ground on that, but we are trying to work on that. So, and department heads, did you have anything? That's it.
I would like to address an issue that was brought to my attention the other day. I had a lady that called me. They wanted to take a look into creating an ordinance for grass clippings being thrown into her driveway and in the main road. Is that something we can look into?
We can look into it and see what we can find.
Okay, thank you.
I also would like to address, in the prior meeting, if you weren't in attendance, our planning commission meeting, one of our members, Mr. Marshall Judd, brought us several things that he had looked at. First of all, thank you for your time to do that. There are several items here. The old city hall is something that I think fully intend to try to get rid of or sell to someone who would want it. The street lamps have been discussed, but not as in much detail as we probably need to. But thanks again for bringing that to our attention. And that's something we definitely need to sit down and talk about, even if it means a special call meeting of some sort. So, I apologize for that, but our next item is hearing of citizens and/or delegations. And if you have anything you'd like to say, please speak. Step to the microphone and speak, please.
Last month, it's brought to my attention that something went on the internet that I didn't say. And I think the chief was supposed to find out and bring it up to us, what I really did say. What we got?
Right now, anything to do with that is pending litigation, and I'm not gonna comment on any of it right now.
Litigation, I didn't say anything.
Oh, that's not true, sir.
Okay. I think what was taken that, I went back and looked, and I think I was up in front and I said, as you know, I'm a numbers guy. I agree with Ms. Bennett. She had said, she was asking about the lawyer's fee for the mayor and and some of the city employees being covered. My question is, how are you going to pay for it? You recently voted for a budget of $14,000 extra out of the $3 million budget. That's what you had budgeted for lawyer's fee that year. How are you going to pay 4 people plus the city? Is it going to cost a lot of money? Everywhere here I'm asking questions. You will have to do without extra stuff, without raising taxes. I understand that you have to take care of the city, but not the individuals. Why is your lawyer not trying to cut a deal to get the city out of it? I'm just talking about the city. I'm trying to get the city out of it. Asking the question. The money is a problem. You need to look for a way to get the city out of it. Going to the cost of this, it's going to cost the city a lot. Where's the money coming from? Keith states that it's from the general fund. What's the lawyer saying about it? Keith states, we cannot discuss it. My last words were, think about it. Try to cut a deal and get the city out of this. I'm not asking, I didn't ask for $1.4 million. I'm trying to get the city out of it. Didn't ask, the other people I wasn't worried about. But that's what I said in the meeting. So nowhere did I say to settle for $1.4 million. Anybody got any questions to me on this, or I got this right off of the YouTube. No time did I ask for $1.4 million. I asked to see if there's a way that the lawyers or the city could get the city out of this. Wasn't worried about anybody else. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anything else from the council? Mr. Morrison? I will move adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.